what are some of those things that aging athletes come to you for?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think in general, this would be an issue with identity. So this would
Mm,
be someone who has been an athlete for most of their life, so a high performer. And
mm,
as you know, as we age, some
mm,
things do change. Now, I love your podcast so much because it's really all these inspiring stories, and I'm a believer as we age, we absolutely can still go hard. We can do those things, but the reality is, as we age, it does change. Physically, we change. And so a lot of times it's this identity issue of who am I without being able to
mm,
run this specific time? Or who am I when now I can't do a marathon anymore? Or who am I when now, I can't climb 514 anymore, or whatever the thing is. And so I would say that's what I see most of. And then it's this journey with the client, like you journey with them to really help them start to create this new narrative about themselves, a new, fresh story about themselves that continues to include their athleticism and what they still love to do and all those things, but working to add in other aspects of their life. So it might be discovery of what are some of your other interests. It may be more focused on psychodynamic stuff of like, okay, well, like if we take that completely away from you, then
mm,
who are you? Like, you don't have to be performing to be worthy,
mhm,
which it often comes
mhm,
down to that sense of I'm not worthy unless I'm performing. I'm not worthy unless I'm climbing 514, whatever the thing is.
mhm,
And it's going on this journey to help them discover that they are worthy, not even for anything they do, but just because they exist. It's this
mm,
piece of figuring out that wholeness within yourself of I am worthy because I'm here, just like everybody else is worthy because
mm,
they're here. So it can bring, when they get to that place, it can bring such a sense of peace and enjoyment back to life, and really
mm,
enjoying doing their sport again. So it's, yeah, I would say identity crisis, right? And figuring out
mm.
how to find, what would we say, like a wholeness in our identity again.
This is powerful stuff. It,
Yeah.
I will say this personally, it hits bullseye.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I know that there are many others like me, but I'm certainly somebody who is, to be completely honest, dealing with this to some degree,
Yeah. Yeah.
where I think for the longest time, maybe since my early 20s,
Hmm.
I've had my identity and to some degree my self worth
Yeah.
wrapped around some of these attributes around how I look, how fit
Yeah.
do I feel,
Right. Right.
uh, how people perceive me with
Yes.
my relation to need to be perceived as some kind of athlete.
Right.
And then also for sure some of those things you talked about, which is my ability to perform at some arbitrary grade in this
Right. Right.
arbitrary sport,
Right.
and
Yes.
uh, and why that is so important to me. In some ways, you're making me think now. We are amongst maybe the most fragile of
Isn't
populations
that the
because
truth?
because
Yeah.
we are so. What are some of the strategies, Heather, where you
Hmm.
help people deal with these things and help them, perhaps reclaim
Yeah.
their self-worth back?
Yeah, for sure. So when I'm in session, when I'm in actual therapy, it's a lot of me asking questions to help that person reflect on those things, and
Mm,
to also, like I said, I'm helping, trying to guide them into this new narrative about themselves, that they
mm,
are worthy just by being, right? And so it's a lot of, when they're telling me their story, I may be interjecting, asking questions, maybe shifting a little bit how they say something in order to help them start to create this new story about themselves. And our story, our narrative about ourselves, it's all in how we think about ourselves. And our thinking, again, we have habits of thought just like we have behavioral habits. So just like I brush my teeth with my right hand every morning, not thinking about it, I have habits of thought. Like, and I can just personal, my habits of thought were a lot of self put down, like you're not good enough. It was a lot of that kind of self talk, and that's a lot of people. And so you can intervene also with practical strategies. So I'll often send people home with homework, or if I'm coaching people, it might be more like journaling strategies or interventions. And this is where I'm going to have them practice writing out their new narrative about themselves. And this is where things get tricky because a lot of people will be like, oh, like
Mm,
positive affirmations, like you stand in the mirror and you're like, I'm beautiful and I'm worthy. And that is really kind of crap. It doesn't work. If you hold
mm,
a negative core belief that you are not worthy, positive
mm,
affirmations do not work because it's kind of bullshit. You like there's a part of
mm,
you that doesn't believe it. So I ask people to start out with neutral self statements. So things like
mm,
they're writing to themselves or saying to themselves things like, I'm working on it. I am working on building some self worth. I am working on it. And that's more
mm,
neutralized, but it does up level the thinking process. And here's the thing with thoughts that people don't get, they are habits. So if you are interjecting new thoughts on purpose, you're writing them in your journal, you're literally setting a timer on your phone to repeat them to yourself every day,
mhm,
5 times a day or whatever, you start to reprogram your brain. And you will find over
mm,
time, those new thoughts start coming in more and more often. And when we're
mm,
thinking the thought, oh, yeah, I'm
mm,
working on this, I maybe am kind of worthy, we feel different, we behave different. And so, those are some practical ways that you
mm.
really can change your sense of identity.
It sounds simple yet
Well, we'll
powerful.
say simple, but not easy, but yes,
Yeah,
powerful.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're right. I think sometimes the simplest, simple. I think because it's simple, I sense, and it's something I have to work on it as well. Is my tendency to not appreciate it enough, when maybe
Yeah.
maybe
Right.
athletes are the way, we are programmed, which is like, oh, if you can't do these really hyper mobilization activities, then it's not going to bring you value. Where
Right. Right.
sometimes something like this, which, like you said, it's simple, it's not easy, but might still be powerful.
Yeah.
Any other ones you can think
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, yeah. Another one that I love, and this would be just to keep it practical and so that listeners could actually try this without going to a therapist. This would be another journaling tactic. I use journaling a lot. And
Mm,
by the way, tons of research behind that. Like journaling is very powerful and you can make changes with journaling. So I do use it,
mm,
even though people are like, no, but if you can get them started, they see the
mm.
benefits, they'll keep it going. So that's good. But I love this one of you take different colored pens. So you might have one green
Mm,
pen, one blue pen. And in your journal, you're going to take the blue pen, and your blue pen is kind of like your inner child, right? So you would
mm,
write out in your blue pen, because now you're embodying the inner child, you would maybe write out those messages that you got, intentional or unintentional, from when you
mhm,
were little, because that's often when we get pre programmed with the thoughts that
mm,
we're not good enough, whatever it may be. So you kind of write out the story, but from that child's viewpoint, So you're writing, well, I feel sad because I got all A's on my report card and one C, and mom only mentioned the C, So it could be just like that.
mm,
So you write out some things like that. Then you take your green pen, and your green pen is your wise mind you. It's authentic
mm,
you. It's loving parent you. Like if you could envision a very
mm,
loving, healthy parent, so now that's you. You
mm,
got the green pen, and you respond to your inner child with that green pen with what a loving parent would say, and to soothe that child. And so you write that out, and you can kind of do this back and forth, and you will find it really does help to soothe that sense that we're not good enough. And it's
Mm,
actually called reparenting. I mean, we do that in therapy a lot too,
wow.
reparenting. Yeah. So that would be another practical way to make some pretty dramatic change, with just a little writing.